Have you ever experienced that frustrating plateau in your language journey? You have, by all measures, succeeded. You have mastered complex grammatical structures. You possess a wide and sophisticated vocabulary, and yet, when you listen to native speakers, you perceive a distinct gap between your textbook English and their effortless, fluid speech. You may find yourself in a conversation, formulating the perfectly correct sentence in your mind, only to find the moment has passed. This gap, this invisible barrier, is not a failure of your intellect. It is the missing link between academic precision and social fluency. That link is the vast, unwritten collection of small everyday phrases, the conversational connective tissue that native speakers use to signal emotion, to build rapport, and to navigate interactions with speed. Phrases like my bad, on the fence, or sounds good are not just slang. They are the essential, functional tools of connection. These phrases are the secret code. And today, we are giving you the key. I'm Elena, your host for this lesson. Today, we are on a mission to unlock the secret level of authentic American English. This is not merely about sounding natural, it is about sounding real and connected. By the end of this masterclass, you will not just know over 160 of these essential phrases, you will understand the feeling, the context, and the rhythm behind them. This is the lesson that closes the gap between studying English and truly living it. Are you ready to crack the code? Let's begin. Let's begin with something simple but incredibly common. When Americans agree with someone, they often don't just say yes. Saying yes can sometimes sound a bit too formal or even robotic. Instead, they use a wide range of phrases like for sure, totally, or absolutely. For example, if a friend says, that movie was amazing, you can answer, for sure, it was great. Notice how short and natural it feels. For sure implies complete agreement without any doubt. Or imagine someone asks, was that test difficult? You could reply, totally, I studied for hours. This shows strong agreement and connection. It's like saying, I 100% agree with you. Another great one is absolutely. If someone suggests, we should get pizza tonight, you can say, absolutely. I'm craving it. You might also hear, you bet. If a friend says, thanks for helping me move, you could reply, you bet, which means, of course, I was happy to. Practice saying it with me. For sure, totally, absolutely, you bet. These are small phrases, but they carry a lot of natural rhythm and positive energy. Another set of common phrases comes when people don't know the answer immediately. Instead of silence, which can feel awkward in an American cultural context, Americans often use phrases to fill that space. They'll say things like, let me think, good question, or I'm not sure. For example, if someone asks, where's the best pizza around here? You might answer, good question. Let me think. These phrases give you time, and they make your English sound more fluent because you're managing the conversation, not just stopping it. Another one you'll hear is, that's a tough one. If someone asks, what's the best book you've ever read? You could say, oh, that's a tough one. I've read so many. It shows you're considering the question seriously. You might also hear, I'll have to check on that. If your boss asks for a specific sales number, instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'll have to check on that. This sounds professional and responsive. When Americans are surprised, you'll often hear phrases that show strong emotion. These are key to sounding engaged. You'll hear phrases like, no way. "You're kidding," or "Seriously." Imagine your friend tells you, "I just met a famous singer yesterday." You can say, "No way." That's awesome. This expresses total disbelief and excitement. Or if they say, "I'm moving to Paris," you could respond with, "You're kidding. That's incredible." These expressions show genuine shock and interest, which makes the conversation more engaging. Another very common one is "get out of here." It sounds rude, but it's not. It's a very friendly and common way to say, "I can't believe it." If your friend says, "I just won $500, you can laugh and say, "Get out of here." For real? Try repeating after me slowly. "No way." "You're kidding." "Seriously?" "Get out of here." Feel the emotion in these phrases. They're not just words. They show how you feel, and that's a huge part of natural communication. Let's move to everyday situations like greeting people. Instead of always saying hello or hi, Americans often use phrases like, "Hey, what's up?" or simply, "How's it going?" These are casual and friendly. Hey is probably the most common greeting in American English. If someone says, "Hey, what's up?" you can reply with, "Not much, just relaxing." Or, "Not much, what's up with you?" "What's up?" is a way of asking what is happening, but it doesn't require a detailed answer. "How's it going?" is just another way to say, "How are you?" A common and friendly reply is, "It's going good. How about you?" You'll also hear, "How's everything?" or "What's new?" These are all invitations for a short, friendly exchange. Practice with me. "Hey, what's up?" "How's it going?" "What's new?" Notice how smooth they sound. When you want to show interest in what someone is saying, showing that you are actively listening is crucial for natural conversation. Americans use very short phrases called back channels. These are phrases like "I see," "got it," or "makes sense." For example, if a coworker explains a new rule, you can nod and say, "Got it. Thanks." This confirms you understand. Or when your friend tells you why they were late, "I missed the bus, so I had to wait for the next one," you might reply, "Ah, makes sense." These little phrases show that you're listening and understanding, and they make the conversation flow better. Other great ones are "uh-huh," "right," and "sure." As someone is telling a story, you can just say "uh-huh" or "right" to encourage them to keep talking. It's like saying, "I'm with you, keep going." Now let's talk about phrases used to show agreement or to add something. Americans often say "exactly," "right," or "that's true." Imagine someone says, "Learning English takes daily practice." You can reply, "Exactly." Daily practice is the key. This shows you share the same thought. Or when someone comments, "The weather is really hot today," you can respond, "Right. It feels like summer already." "That's true" is another great way to validate what someone said. "It's hard to find a good apartment in this city." "That's true." "The rent is so high." Another very natural phrase is "I hear that." It means I understand and I agree, probably because I've had a similar experience. If your friend says, "I'm so tired of all this rain," you can say, "I hear that." "I really miss the sun. Practice with me." "Exactly." "Right. That's true. I hear that." Sometimes you want to be polite but also casual. Instead of only saying "please" and "thank you," Americans often add phrases like "no problem," "you got it," or "sure thing." For example, if someone thanks you for helping, you can say "no problem" or "sure thing." This sounds much warmer and more relaxed than "you are welcome." "You are welcome" is polite, but it can sound a bit formal or stiff. "No problem" is the most common casual reply. "You got it" is also very friendly. If a customer in a cafe says, "Thank you for the coffee," the barista will often say, "You got it. Have a good one." These little touches make you sound warmer and more approachable. When you need to ask for something politely, you'll often hear phrases like, "Could you do me a favor?" or "Would you mind helping me out?" These are softer and friendlier than just asking directly. For example, instead of saying, "Give me that pen," you can say, "Could you do me a favor and pass me the pen?" The phrase, "do me a favor," prepares the person that you're about to ask for something. "Would you mind" is also incredibly useful. "Would you mind helping me out? I just need 2 minutes to finish this email." Or, "Would you mind if I borrowed your chair?" This politeness is a key part of sounding natural and respectful. Another great one is, "I was wondering if you could," for example, "I was wondering if you could look over this report for me." It sounds very gentle and indirect. Try it with me. "Could you do me a favor? Would you mind helping me out? I was wondering if you could." They sound natural and respectful. Let's practice phrases for everyday small talk. This is where many learners feel nervous, but these phrases make it easy. If someone shares good news, you can say, "That's great. Good for you." Or, "I'm so happy for you." For example, your friend says, "I just got a new job." You can respond, "That's great. I'm so happy for you." Or if they share bad news, you might say, "I'm sorry to hear that." Or simply, "That sucks." "That sucks" is informal, but it's very common and shows genuine empathy. If they say, "I lost my wallet," you can answer, "Oh no, that sucks." Or, "That's awful. I'm sorry to hear that." Notice how these phrases match emotions naturally. Another important area is time phrases. Americans use expressions like "in a sec," "right away," or "in a bit." Instead of always saying, "I'll do it soon," you might say, "I'll do it in a sec." In a sec just means in a second or very, very soon. Right away means immediately. If your boss asks you to finish something quickly, you can say, "Sure, I'll do it right away." In a bit means a little later, but still soon. "I'm busy now. I'll call you back in a bit." You'll also hear "in a jiffy," which is a fun, slightly older way to say very quickly. "I'll be ready in a jiffy." Try repeating "in a second," right away. "In a bit." These are simple, but they make your English sound less formal and more natural. When people want to give advice in a friendly way, they often say things like, "You might want to," or "It's a good idea to." For example, instead of saying "close the window," you can say, "You might want to close the window. It's getting cold." This softer tone makes you sound polite and caring. Another very common phrase is, "if I were you." For example, "If I were you, I'd probably apologize." Or, "Have you thought about taking the bus instead of driving?" These phrases offer advice as a suggestion, not a command, which is a key part of American communication style. Sometimes Americans use filler phrases to show their thinking, but these are not the same as silence. You'll hear, you know, "like," or "I mean." For example, "It was like really fun," or "I mean, that's what I thought." "You know" is often used to check if the listener is following or to imply shared knowledge. "It's just one of those days, you know." Be careful not to overuse them as it can be distracting, but using them sometimes can make your English sound more natural and less rehearsed. Another one is "well," which is often used to start a sentence when you need a moment to think. "Well, I'm not sure about that." At this point, let's pause and remind ourselves if you're enjoying this lesson, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more daily English practice. It helps you stay connected and motivated, and it supports our learning community. Your support allows us to keep making these lessons for you. Okay, let's continue with more useful phrases. When Americans talk about the future, especially when plans are not certain, they often say, I'll get back to you. We'll see, or I'll keep you posted. For example, if someone asks, are you free on Friday? You can reply, I'm not sure yet. I'll get back to you. This is a promise to give them an answer later. I'll keep you posted is a great way to promise an update on a developing situation. I'll keep you posted on my job search. Be aware that we'll see can sometimes be a soft way of saying probably not, but it's used very often to keep things open. A parent might say, we'll see to a child asking for ice cream, which often means no. But among adults, it can just mean the situation is uncertain. You'll also hear, it's up in the air. Our vacation plans are still up in the air. This means nothing is decided. Repeat slowly. I'll get back to you. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. Another very common set of phrases happens when people want to end conversations politely. Instead of just saying goodbye, Americans might say, take care, see you later, or catch you soon. For example, when leaving work, you can say, take care, have a good evening. Take care shows a nice level of warmth. With a friend, you might say, catch you soon. Another very common one is, have a good one. This just means have a good day or have a good evening. It's friendly and versatile. You might also just hear, talk soon. All right, I gotta go. Talk soon. Practice with me. Take care. See you later. Catch you soon. Have a good one. And finally, for this first part, let's look at phrases to show excitement or happiness. Americans often say, that's awesome, so cool, or I love it. Imagine your friend shows you a new phone. You can say, that's awesome. Where did you get it? Or if you see someone's travel photos, you might reply, so cool. I love it. You'll also hear, I'm stoked, or I'm psyched. These are informal and mean very excited. I'm stoked for the concert this weekend. I'm psyched to start my new job. Repeat with me. That's awesome. So cool. I'm stoked. These short, energetic phrases bring life to your English. Let's keep going and explore even more of the phrases that make English feel alive and natural. You'll notice that many of these phrases are short, casual, and often connected to emotions or everyday routines. They are the glue that holds conversations together. And when you start using them, you'll instantly feel more comfortable when speaking with native speakers. One of the most common areas where Americans use natural phrases is when they want to check if someone agrees. Instead of asking, do you understand? All the time, which can sound like you're a teacher, they might say, you know what I mean, or right, at the end of a sentence. For example, someone might say, it's so hot today, right? Or, that show was so funny, you know what I mean? These little endings invite agreement and make the conversation feel connected. You might also hear, you feel me? This is very informal, common among younger speakers, and means, do you understand my feeling or my perspective? It's just so frustrating, you feel me? Another situation is when people want to soften bad news or disappointment. Instead of being too direct, they often say things like, it didn't work out, things happen, or it is what it is. Imagine your friend tells you they didn't get the job they wanted. You could say, I'm sorry to hear that, but hey, "It is what it is." "Something better will come." "It is what it is" shows you're accepting a reality that you cannot change. Or perhaps you planned a picnic and it started to rain. You could just sigh and say, "It is what it is. Let's order pizza instead." Phrases like this show empathy and acceptance without sounding too heavy. Let's practice expressions people use when they need help or when they're asking someone politely. You might hear, "Can you give me a hand?" Or, "Do you mind if I..." For example, you could say, "Can you give me a hand with these boxes?" "Give me a hand" is a very common idiom for "help me." Or, "Do you mind if I sit here?" These are so much softer and friendlier than just saying, "Help me" or "move." Practice slowly with me. "Can you give me a hand?" "Do you mind if I..." Americans also use lots of little phrases when something is easy or not a problem. For example, "No worries," "Don't sweat it," or "It's all good." If someone apologizes to you for something small, like being a few minutes late, instead of always saying, "That's okay," you can reply, "No worries, it's all good." "Don't sweat it" is another great one. It means don't worry about it. If someone thanks you for doing something small, you can say, "Don't sweat it." Happy to help. You'll also hear "no biggie," which is a very casual way to say it's not a big deal. "Oh, you spilled some water?" "No biggie, I'll clean it up." These sound casual and relaxed. When something is difficult, people often say, "It's a pain," "It's tough," or "It's not easy." For example, you might say, "Commuting every day is a pain." A pain means it's annoying and difficult. Or learning a new language is tough, but it's worth it. You might also hear, "It's a drag." "I have to work all weekend." "It's such a drag." Notice how these short phrases capture feelings without long explanations. Another very common set of expressions comes when people want to start telling a story or share information. Americans often say, "Guess what?" "You know what happened?" Or "Let me tell you." For example, "Guess what? I just got a new puppy." This immediately gets the listener's attention. Or, "You know what happened yesterday?" "I met an old friend." These openings make your speech sound dynamic and engaging. Another one is long story short. This is used when you are going to skip the details and get to the main point. Long story short, we missed the flight and had to rebook. Now let's think about how Americans react to exciting or surprising news. In addition to "no way" or "seriously," which we practiced earlier, you'll also hear "That's insane," "unbelievable," or "That's wild." For example, "He finished the marathon in 2 hours." And the reply could be, "That's insane." "How did he do that?" Insane and wild here don't mean bad. They mean extremely surprising or impressive. Try repeating these slowly. "That's insane." "Unbelievable." "That's wild." In casual conversations, people often want to show that they agree, but also that they have more to say. A very natural phrase is, "Yeah, and..." For example, "That movie was really funny." And you can reply, "Yeah, and the music was amazing too." Or, "The restaurant was crowded." And you might answer, "Yeah, and the service was slow." It's simple, but it helps you keep the conversation moving forward, adding your own point. You'll also hear Americans use softeners like "kind of" or "sort of." For example, instead of saying "it was boring," someone might say, "It was kind of boring." Or, "I'm sort of tired today." These make statements sound less direct, less strong, which often feels more natural and polite in conversation. "I kind of feel like we should leave soon." It's a gentler way to make a suggestion. Another common feature is shortening phrases. This is a key to sounding natural. Instead of always saying, I am going to, people often say, I'm gonna. Or instead of I want to, they say, I wanna. For example, I'm gonna grab some coffee, or I wanna watch that new show. You'll also hear hafta for have to, like, I have to finish this today. Or gotta for got to, as in, I gotta go. Let's practice these. They are all about relaxing your mouth. I'm gonna, I wanna, I have to, I gotta. You'll also hear gimme for give me a minute, and whatcha for what are you, what you doing. These contractions are everywhere in spoken English, and using them will make you sound more authentic. When something goes well, people often celebrate it with short phrases like nailed it, you did great, or nice job. If your friend finishes a project, you can say, nailed it, looks awesome. Nailed it means you did it perfectly. If someone cooks a good meal, you might say, nice job. This tastes amazing. You'll also hear, you crushed it, which is a very enthusiastic way to say, you did an excellent job. These are encouraging and fun to use. If something doesn't go well, there are casual ways to express that too. You'll hear, my bad, I messed up, or I blew it. For example, if you forget to call someone back, you can say, oh, my bad, I totally forgot. My bad is a very common, informal way to take responsibility for a small mistake. I messed up on the test, or I blew it, are for bigger mistakes. I had a job interview, but I was so nervous, I blew it. These phrases make mistakes sound lighter and more human. In conversations about plans, you'll often hear sounds good, that works, or I'm in. For example, if someone says, let's meet at 6, you can answer, sounds good, or that works. If they say, want to join us for dinner, you might reply, I'm in. Another very casual one is, I'm game. Want to go hiking? Sure, I'm game. Try it with me. Sounds good. That works. I'm in. I'm game. Another area to practice is how Americans show doubt. They often say, I'm not sure about that. Maybe. Or simply, I don't know. But they deliver these softly, often stretching the words a little. For example, I don't know, maybe we should wait. Or, I'm not sure about that. Let's think again. Another common one is, I'm on the fence, which means you're in the middle and can't decide. Should we go to the beach or the mountains? I'm on the fence, both sound good. This is a great idiom to show your indecision. When you want to encourage someone, phrases like, you got this, go for it, or don't give up are everywhere. For example, if your friend is nervous about an interview, you can say, don't worry, you got this. You got this is a powerful, confident phrase. Or if they are unsure about trying something new, you might say, go for it. You'll be great. You might also hear, keep at it. I know learning guitar is hard, but keep at it. These short, supportive lines bring warmth into conversations. When ending conversations, sometimes Americans don't even use goodbye phrases. They might say, talk to you later, catch you tomorrow, or simply later. Imagine you finish a call with a friend. You could say, okay, talk to you later, or just later. They're quick, natural, and friendly. And let's not forget phrases for showing gratitude in everyday moments. Besides thanks or thank you, you'll hear thanks a lot, thanks so much, or I really appreciate it. For example, if someone helps you carry something heavy, you can say, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Adds a stronger, more sincere feeling. You might also hear, I owe you one, which means I will return the favor. Or you're a lifesaver if they helped you out of a difficult situation. Thanks for driving me to the airport. You're a lifesaver. Practice slowly with me. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I owe you one. Sometimes when someone thanks you, Americans respond not only with no problem, but also with anytime, of course, or happy to help. These are short, warm ways of showing kindness. For example, thank you for watching my dog. You can reply, of course, anytime. Anytime implies you would be happy to do it again. My pleasure is another polite, slightly more formal, but very warm response. Notice the rhythm. Anytime. Of course. Happy to help. Now let's shift to phrases people use when something is not clear or when they didn't hear something. Instead of always saying, what, which can sound a little abrupt or rude, they often say, sorry, or come again. For example, if someone says something quietly, you can reply, sorry, could you repeat that? Or casually, come again? You might also hear, what was that? Or, could you say that again, please? These are softer and friendlier. And finally, in this section, let's look at how Americans show excitement when they agree to do something. They might say, count me in, sounds awesome, or I can't wait. For example, your friend invites you to a party. You can reply, count me in, sounds awesome, or I can't wait, it'll be fun. Another very informal one is heck yeah. Want to go to the concert? Heck yeah, practice with me. Count me in. Sounds awesome. I can't wait. Let's dive deeper into even more of these everyday phrases because the more of them you know, the easier it will be to follow conversations and jump in with confidence. Remember, these are not complicated academic words. They are simple, short, and used all the time by native speakers in daily life. Think about moments when you want to agree enthusiastically. We already talked about absolutely and totally. You can also use definitely. Imagine someone says, do you want to go to the beach this weekend? You can reply, definitely. That sounds perfect. Or, for sure, I'm in. These small words carry strong positive energy and make your English sound alive. When something is uncertain, you'll notice people saying kind of, sort of, or more or less. For example, do you like spicy food? You might answer, sort of, but not too spicy. Or, are you done with your homework? You can reply, more or less. I just have one part left. These phrases add nuance and sound natural in everyday talk. They are perfect for when the answer isn't a simple yes or no. Let's practice some more phrases that people use when they are surprised or impressed. Besides, no way or that's insane, you'll also hear that's crazy, that's nuts, or that blew my mind. That's crazy and that's nuts are used just like that's insane. She finished the puzzle in 10 minutes. You can respond, that's nuts. How did she do that? That blew my mind is for something that is not just surprising, but makes you think in a new way. His presentation on space travel really blew my mind. Try repeating slowly with me. That's crazy. That's nuts. That blew my mind. These bring excitement and keep conversations fun. Now, what about when something is disappointing? Americans often use casual phrases like, that's rough, or that's too bad, or bummer. Imagine your friend says, I missed the bus this morning. You might say, oh, bummer? That's rough. Bummer is a perfect single-word response to show you understand it's a disappointing situation. That's rough is a great way to show empathy for a difficult time. He has to work all weekend. That's rough. These little lines show empathy without needing long explanations. In conversations about time, you'll often hear phrases like all the time, once in a while, or from time to time. For example, do you watch movies? You can reply, yeah, all the time. Or do you go hiking? You might answer once in a while. From time to time is very similar to once in a while. I visit my parents from time to time. Repeat after me. All the time. Once in a while. From time to time. These phrases make your speech sound smooth and natural. Another thing you'll notice is how Americans give suggestions. Instead of always saying, you should, which can sound like a strong order, they often say, how about, why don't we, or let's. For example, how about we grab lunch? Or, why don't we take a walk? These are softer, friendlier, and more inviting than giving a direct order. Let's check out that new cafe. This is a key part of collaborative, friendly conversation. Sometimes when someone is telling a story, you'll hear them use linking phrases like so then and guess what, or before I knew it. For example, so then the waiter brought the wrong dish. Or, and guess what? I saw my teacher at the store. Before I knew it is a great phrase to show that something happened very quickly. I sat down to watch one show, and before I knew it, I had watched the whole season. These phrases make stories flow naturally and they keep listeners interested. Let's think about how people encourage each other in everyday conversations. You'll often hear, hang in there, you'll be fine, or keep it up. For example, if a friend is struggling with work, you can say, hang in there, you'll be fine. Hang in there is a very common way to tell someone not to give up during a difficult time. Or if they are practicing guitar, you can say, keep it up. You're getting better. These supportive lines make interactions warm and positive. Another common group of phrases are used when people want to make plans but stay casual. You'll hear, let's catch up, we should hang out, or let's grab a coffee sometime. Catch up means to talk to someone you haven't seen in a while. Let's catch up this weekend. It's been so long. Hang out is a very common casual way to say spend time together. We should hang out. I miss talking to you. These are light invitations and they sound very natural. When Americans want to say something was really good, especially food or a drink, they often say, that hit the spot, that was perfect, or that was just what I needed. Imagine drinking cold water on a hot day. You can say, that hit the spot. Or after eating a tasty meal, that was just what I needed. Practice slowly with me. That hit the spot. That was perfect. That was just what I needed. In moments of hesitation, you'll often hear filler phrases like, well, let's see, or, you know. For example, well, I think we should leave soon. Or, let's see, maybe we can try a different restaurant. These small pauses help conversations flow more naturally and give you time to think, so you don't have awkward silences. Sometimes people want to express that something doesn't matter. You'll often hear, whatever, it's no big deal, or not a big deal. For example, sorry I forgot to text. You can answer, it's no big deal, or I spilled a little water. The reply could be, whatever, it happens. Whatever can sometimes be rude, so be careful with your A-tone, but used gently it means, it doesn't matter. It's no big deal is always safe and friendly. Now let's focus on how people react when they agree strongly. You'll hear phrases like, exactly, that's what I was thinking, or you read my mind. For example, we should order pizza. You can say, Exactly. I was just about to say that. Or we need a vacation. You could reply, you read my mind. These phrases make conversations feel connected and friendly. When Americans want to express relief, they often use phrases like, thank goodness, what a relief, or that was close. Imagine you almost missed the train but catch it at the last second. You might say, phew, that was close. Or after hearing good news about a stressful situation, thank goodness. I was so worried. What a relief is perfect for when a bad situation is avoided. The test is postponed? What a relief. These show emotion in a natural way. Another very useful set of phrases comes when people want to politely change topics. Instead of saying, let's talk about something else, they might say, by the way, speaking of, or that reminds me. For example, you're talking about work and you suddenly remember something. By the way, have you seen my keys? Or you're talking about movies. Speaking of travel, when is your next trip? That reminds me is perfect for connecting two topics. This song reminds me of high school. Oh, that reminds me, I need to call my old friend. These connectors keep conversations smooth and natural. When someone gives you good news, you can use short, enthusiastic phrases like, that's fantastic, that's wonderful, or good to hear. For example, I passed my exam. You might reply, that's fantastic, congratulations. Good to hear is a solid, positive response. I'm feeling much better today. That's good to hear. These supportive lines are simple but powerful. And when something goes wrong, you can use phrases like, what a shame, too bad, or that's unfortunate. Imagine your friend says, the concert was canceled. You could say, what a shame. I was looking forward to it. Too bad is a little more casual. He can't come to the party. Ah, too bad. These phrases show empathy without being too dramatic. Finally, in this section, let's practice some very casual everyday phrases that you'll hear constantly. Things like, no kidding, for real, or seriously though. No kidding is a way to say, I agree, or that's very true. That place has the best burgers. You might answer, no kidding, I have to try it. For real is used to show strong agreement or to ask if something is true. He's really talented. And you could say, for real, he's amazing. These are short, friendly, and make conversations sound authentic. Let's keep the energy going because the more phrases you hear, the more natural your own speaking will become. Remember, the goal is not to memorize everything at once. It's to get familiar with how these phrases sound and then slowly start using them in your own conversations. One very common area where phrases come up is when Americans want to show excitement. Instead of just saying, I'm happy, you'll often hear, I'm pumped, I'm thrilled, or I'm so excited. For example, I'm pumped about the concert this weekend, or I'm thrilled you could come. These add emotion and friendliness to everyday talk. When something is okay but not amazing, you'll hear phrases like, it's fine, it's all right, or not bad. For example, if someone asks, how was the movie? You might say, it was all right, or how's your day going? You could reply, not bad. These keep your answers casual and balanced, just like native speakers. They are honest without being too negative. In moments when people want to express surprise but in a positive way, you'll often hear, get out of here. You've got to be kidding me, or shut up, said in a playful way. For example, your friend says, I won the lottery. You might reply, get out of here. That's amazing. Or if they say, I saw your favorite celebrity, you could say, shut up. No way. It's important to use a friendly, smiling tone with shut up, as it's just a playful way to express total shock. Let's practice everyday reactions to someone's suggestion. Americans often say, sure thing, sounds good, or works for me. For example, let's meet at 3 o'clock. You might reply, sounds good, or can you send me the file later? You could answer, sure thing. Works for me is a great way to show you are flexible. We can meet on Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday works for me. Try saying these slowly. Sure thing. Sounds good. Works for me. When someone shares bad news, you'll often hear sympathetic responses like, that's tough, that's rough, or I feel for you. For example, if your friend says, I have so much homework this week, you can say, that's rough, hang in there, or I lost my phone. You might answer, that's tough. I feel for you. I feel for you is a very empathetic phrase. These small, supportive lines keep conversations kind. Sometimes Americans want to give a casual warning. Instead of saying, be careful, you might hear, watch out, heads up, or be careful out there. For example, if someone is about to bump into something, you might say, watch out. Heads up is a great phrase used to tell someone to be aware of something that is about to happen. Heads up, the boss is coming. Or before walking into a crowded area, you could say, heads up, it's busy in there. Be careful out there is a nice way to say goodbye if someone is, for example, driving in bad weather. Another set of useful expressions happens when people want to show understanding. Instead of repeating, I understand, they often say, got it, makes sense, or I hear you. For example, if someone explains why they're late, you can answer, got it. No problem, or makes sense. Traffic is always bad. I hear you is a very empathetic way to show you understand their feelings, not just their words. I'm so stressed about this project. I hear you. It's a lot of work. These are light, natural ways to show you're listening. When you need more time to think, you'll often hear phrases like, let me see, hold on a second, or give me a minute. For example, if someone asks you a hard question, you could reply, let me see. I think the answer is yes, or hold on a second, I need to check my calendar. These phrases keep the conversation moving while you think, so you're not just silent. In casual conversations, Americans often react with small, enthusiastic phrases like awesome, cool, or sweet. Imagine your friend says, I bought a new bike. You can reply, awesome, that's so cool, or I got the job. And you might say, sweet, congratulations. Sweet is a very common, informal way to react to good news. These short responses are used constantly in daily life. Let's practice phrases for showing relief. You'll often hear, that's a load off, thank goodness, or I feel better now. That's a load off, or that's a weight off my shoulders, means that a source of stress has been removed. I finally finished my project. That's a load off. Or after hearing good news, thank goodness. I was worried. These add emotional depth to your English. Sometimes people want to politely show disagreement. Instead of saying, you're wrong, which is very direct and rude, they might say, I'm not so sure about that. I don't think so, or I see it differently. For example, pizza is the best food in the world. You might answer, I'm not so sure about that. I think pasta is better. Or, that plan will work. And you could say, I see it differently, but let's talk more. These softeners make you sound polite even when disagreeing. Another everyday phrase is fair enough. It's used to accept someone's opinion or decision even if you don't fully agree. showing you respect their point. For example, I don't want to go to the party tonight. I'm too tired. You can answer, fair enough. You should get some rest. This keeps the conversation respectful. Let's practice phrases for ending conversations in friendly ways. Besides take care or see you later, you'll often hear catch you later on, or talk soon. For example, I have to go now. You could answer, okay, catch you later. Or let's talk soon. These are short and warm. When something happens suddenly, Americans often use quick reactions like, whoa, oh man, or yikes. For example, if you see something surprising, you might say, whoa, that's amazing. Oh man can be used for good or bad things. Oh man, that's great news. Or, oh man, I forgot my keys. Yikes is almost always for something bad or scary. Yikes, that's a big spider. These natural reactions add life to conversations. Another set of phrases are used to encourage someone gently. You might say, take your time, no rush, or whenever you're ready. For example, if someone apologizes for making you wait, you can reply, no rush, take your time. These phrases create a relaxed, kind atmosphere. In conversations about choices, you'll often hear, it's up to you, whatever works, or either way is fine. For example, should we eat at home or go out? You can answer, it's up to you, or whatever works. I'm flexible. I'm flexible is another great phrase to show you are easygoing and cooperative. Another common area is talking about time casually. Instead of always saying immediately, you'll hear right away, in no time, or before you know it. For example, I'll get that done right away. Or, we'll be there in no time. In no time means very, very quickly. Before you know it is a comforting phrase, meaning something will happen so fast you won't even notice the time pass. You'll be speaking fluent English before you know it. Let's move to expressions people use when they want to reassure others. You'll often hear, it's all good, no worries, or we're good. For example, sorry I'm late. You could answer, it's all good, don't worry. Or, thanks for helping me. And the reply might be, no worries, we're good. These create a warm, friendly tone. When someone is trying to remember something, they often say, it's on the tip of my tongue. Let me think. Or, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's on the tip of my tongue is a perfect idiom for when you know the word but you just can't say it. What's the name of that actor? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember off the top of my head is perfect when someone asks you for information you don't have memorized, like, what's the phone number for the restaurant? I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me look it up. These keep the conversation natural even when you forget details. Now let's practice phrases used when something surprising happens in everyday life. Americans often say out of the blue, out of nowhere, or all of a sudden. Out of the blue means completely unexpectedly. For example, she called me out of the blue after years. Out of nowhere is very similar. It started raining out of nowhere. All of a sudden is another way to say suddenly. Try repeating slowly, out of the blue, out of nowhere, all of a sudden. These expressions give color to your storytelling. When you're explaining that something happens often, you'll hear day in and day out, over and over, or all the time. For example, he practices piano day in and day out. This emphasizes the relentless daily repetition. Or, I hear that song over and over. These little rhythmical phrases make your English lively. Sometimes people use casual phrases to mean, don't worry. You'll hear it's chill, relax, or take it easy. For example, everything's fine, just chill. Chill is very informal, or take it easy. There's no rush. These phrases make you sound laid back and comfortable. When something is strange, Americans might say, that's weird, that's odd, or that's bizarre. For example, the lights turned off by themselves. You could say, that's weird, or he left without saying goodbye. You might answer, that's odd. Bizarre is for something extremely strange. I had a bizarre dream last night. Simple phrases like these are very natural in daily speech. To show excitement, people often use short, enthusiastic words like yay, woohoo, or awesome. Imagine your friend says, I passed the exam. You can reply, yay, congratulations. Or, I got tickets to the game. You might say, woohoo. That's awesome. These sound happy and genuine. When something is obvious, you'll often hear phrases like, of course, obviously, or duh. Duh is very informal and can be a bit rude, so use it with friends. It means that's so obvious. Of course and obviously are more neutral. Do you like ice cream? You can reply, of course. Or, he's really good at soccer. You could answer, obviously he's been playing for years. These are everyday ways to show agreement. Sometimes people want to encourage action. They'll say, go for it. Why not? Or, give it a shot. Give it a shot means try it. For example, should I try singing at karaoke? You could answer, go for it. Give it a shot. Why not? Is a great way to brush away someone's doubts. I'm not sure if I should apply for that job. Why not? You're qualified. These are supportive and motivating. When Americans want to explain that something isn't certain, they use phrases like up in the air, not set in stone, or we'll see. For example, our travel plans are still up in the air, or the schedule isn't set in stone, which means it can be changed. These sound casual and realistic. Now let's practice phrases for everyday agreement. You'll often hear for sure, no doubt, or exactly. For example, that was the best meal I've had. You can reply, no doubt, it was amazing. Or, practice makes perfect. And you might say, exactly. I couldn't agree more. These add natural flow to your conversations. When people want to show relief or express that something ended well, they'll say, better safe than sorry, all's well that ends well, or crisis averted. Better safe than sorry is an idiom that means it's better to be careful, even if it seems unnecessary. I locked the door twice. Better safe than sorry. Crisis averted is a dramatic, funny way to say a small problem was solved. We almost missed the train, but we made it. Crisis averted. These make your English colorful and idiomatic. Let's look at some phrases that people use when they need a short break. You might hear, I need a breather. I need a break. Or, I need to recharge. I need a breather means I need a short rest. For example, I need a breather after that run. Or, I just need to recharge this weekend. This means to rest and get your energy back. These are casual and relatable. Sometimes people want to show they don't care too much about the details. They'll say, whatever works, it doesn't matter, or either way is fine. For example, do you want tea or coffee? You could answer, either way is fine. Or, what movie should we watch? You might reply, whatever works. These keep the conversation easygoing. When someone shares exciting personal news, Americans often respond with, good for you. I'm so happy for you. Or, that's wonderful. For example, I just got promoted. You can reply, good for you. That's wonderful. These phrases show happiness and support for others. Finally, let's practice phrases that people use to describe how they're doing. Instead of always saying, I'm fine, you'll hear, I'm hanging in there, can't complain, or doing all right. I'm hanging in there means you're okay, but you're having a tough time. How are you? You might say, I'm hanging in there, thanks. Can't complain is a very common positive response. Can't complain. Life's good. Doing all right is another friendly, neutral answer. These are natural, friendly ways to answer without sounding robotic. We're almost at the end of our journey together today. But before we wrap up, let's go through more of those everyday phrases that will help you sound natural, confident, and connected whenever you speak English. When Americans want to say that something is very unlikely, they often use phrases like fat chance, not going to happen, or don't hold your breath. For example, do you think he'll lend me his car? You might answer, fat chance. Or, will the teacher cancel the exam? You can reply, don't hold your breath, which means don't expect it to happen. These short phrases carry a lot of meaning. If something is very easy to see or understand, you'll hear it's clear as day, it's obvious, or plain and simple. For example, he's tired, it's clear as day, or this rule is plain and simple. Just follow it. These help your English sound direct and confident. Now let's practice phrases people use when they're trying to be flexible. You'll often hear, I'm easy, I don't mind, or whatever you prefer. For example, where should we eat? You can reply, I'm easy, whatever you prefer. I'm easy in this context means I'm easy to please. These show that you're open and relaxed. When people want to show strong agreement, they sometimes use dramatic expressions like without a doubt, hands down, or no question about it. For example, she's the best singer here, hands down. Hands down means by far, with no competition. Or that was the funniest movie. No question about it. Repeat with me, without a doubt. Hands down. No question about it. Sometimes Americans want to soften their suggestions. So they'll say things like, maybe you could, you might want to, or how about if, for example, maybe you could try studying earlier in the day. Or you might want to talk to your teacher about it. These sound polite and supportive. When something feels unfair, you'll often hear, that's not fair, come on, or give me a break. For example, they canceled the game at the last minute. You can respond, come on, that's not fair, or we have to pay extra. And you might say, give me a break. These phrases are short and expressive. Another everyday set of phrases are used when something is confusing. You'll hear, I'm lost, I don't get it, or I'm confused. For example, can you explain that again? I'm lost. I don't get it is a very common, direct way to say, I don't understand. These are direct but friendly ways to show you need help. When people want to emphasize how much they agree, you'll hear, exactly, you said it, or that's so true. For example, we all need more sleep. You can reply, exactly, that's so true, or English practice makes a big difference. And you might say, you said it. You said it means you are perfectly correct. These phrases are short but powerful. Let's practice phrases for showing excitement about future plans. Americans often say, looking forward to it, can't wait, or it'll be fun. For example, see you at the party. You can reply, looking forward to it. Or, we're going hiking this weekend. You might say, it'll be fun. These add positive energy to conversations. When something is shocking or hard to believe, you might hear, "You won't believe it. Guess what happened?" or "Get this." For example, guess what happened? "I met my favorite actor." Or "You won't believe it. I just won a prize." Get this is a very informal way to introduce a surprising fact. Get this, he's moving to Alaska. These are lively openings that keep your listeners interested. In casual chats, people often want to show they agree quickly. You'll hear "totally," "for sure," or "yeah, definitely." For example, "That meal was amazing." You might answer, "Totally, it was the best," or "That's the right choice." And you could reply, "Yeah, definitely." These are quick, natural responses. When someone thanks you, you'll often hear, "No problem," "Don't mention it," or "Anytime." For example, "Thanks for helping." You can reply, "Don't mention it," anytime. "Don't mention it" is a polite way to say, "It was nothing." These keep the tone casual and friendly. Now let's think about phrases people use to show disappointment. You'll hear, "Yeah, that's too bad." "What a pity," or "That's a shame." For example, "The event was canceled." You might say, "That's too bad. I was excited." Or, "We missed the bus." And you could reply, "What a pity." These short expressions fit naturally in daily life. Sometimes Americans use phrases to show that something is very likely. You'll hear "chances are," "most likely," or "odds are." For example, "Chances are he'll be late again," or "Odds are it's going to rain." These are casual but confident predictions. Another set of everyday phrases are used to show uncertainty. You'll hear "I guess," "maybe," or "not sure." For example, "Will they come?" You can say, "I guess so." Or, "Are we leaving soon?" You might reply, "Not sure, maybe later." These phrases are flexible and easy. When people are impressed, they often use short reactions like "wow," "amazing," or "incredible." For example, "I saw the sunrise over the mountains." You can say, "Wow, that's incredible." Or, "She speaks 5 languages." You might reply, "Amazing." These show wonder and enthusiasm. Let's practice phrases people use when they want to say goodbye casually. You'll hear "see you" or "catch you later." For example, "I'm heading out." You can reply, "Okay, see you," or "catch you later." These are everyday farewells. When people want to motivate each other, they often say, "You can do it," "Don't give up," or "Keep going." For example, "I'm nervous about the exam." You can reply, "Don't give up, you can do it," or "I feel tired." You might answer, "Keep going. You're almost there." These add encouragement and positivity. Finally, let's practice some casual expressions used constantly, things like cool, awesome, sweet, nice, or great. Imagine your friend says, "I got new shoes." You can reply, "Sweet, nice shoes," or "I learned a new word in English." And you might say, "Awesome, that's great." These short reactions are part of almost every American conversation. And you made it. Take a deep breath. That wasn't just a lesson, that was an armory. Your brain is buzzing, and it should be. You have just downloaded the secret code to natural conversational English, the part of the language that most textbooks completely ignore. You now have over 160 new tools for connection. But here's the truth. A key is useless until you turn it in the lock. Your mission doesn't start tomorrow. It starts right now. I don't want you to memorize this list. I want you to live it. I challenge you to pick just 2 phrases, just 2. One that you will try to use today and one that you'll use tomorrow. Maybe it's a simple "got it" instead of "I understand," or a "sounds good" instead of "yes." This is your moment. This is how you change the way you feel when you speak. This is how you go from being a person who studies English to a person who speaks it. I want to know your first two phrases. This is your accountability. Go to the comments right now and tell me, what are the two phrases you are committing to use this week? Let's make a plan together. You've got the tools. Now go build those connections. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. If you felt that click, that aha moment, show your support with a like, turn on the bell. You've earned it. I am so proud of you. I'll see you in the next lesson.